Hey guys, welcome back. And today we are going to be doing a way too early 2025 NFL mock draft. Now we did one of these right before or right after the 2024 NFL draft. Now we are going to be doing one final one before the college football season starts on Saturday. So we're going to be going through here, kind of going through some prospects that I think are really solid that we didn't get to talk about in the last one, and getting to experiment with some new ideas. So if you guys do enjoy NFL draft content, college football, the NFL, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Really helps me out, lets me know you guys are enjoying the videos. Also, stay tuned. We've got the Prospect Spotlight series that is going to be continuing to add new videos to throughout the year. We've already got one on quite a few prospects already. And stay tuned for some more NFL themed content coming up towards the week as I give my final season predictions. But let's go ahead and take a look here. Now, this is a draft order from PFN. I did not put this one together, but we're just going to go off of what they gave us. I believe this is off Super Bowl odds. I could be wrong, but let's start off with the number one pick, and that's the Carolina Panthers. Now, if they're picking at number one, that probably means Bryce Young had a pretty disappointing season, and they might be back in the quarterback market. This isn't a team, though, that I think is going to be selecting number one, and I'm going to draft based on need here. Their pass rush took a major hit. You lost Brian Burns, and Jadeveon Clowney, he had a really solid year in Baltimore. That's really the only guy here. You don't really trust him to be around for the long run. DJ Wanham has been okay as a number two edge in Minnesota, but I don't think he's going to step up in a big way here in Carolina. This is a team that really doesn't have any pass rushers off the edge. You got one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league in Derek Brown. You've got a pretty solid corner in J.C. Horn when he's on the field, but you need to improve the pass rush. And this is a loaded pass rush class. So we will be selecting, in my opinion, the best edge rusher in the draft. They got him at number 8 down here. That is going to be Tennessee's James Pierce Jr. Already did a prospect spotlight on him, so if you guys want to go check that out, be sure to. But James Pierce is a really, really fun player. He's a little bit undersized at about 240, but he moves incredibly well. His first step is one of the best in the entire draft class. He's got elite bend. He shows some really high pass rush upside. So that's going to be the pick here for Carolina. You get your franchise edge rusher and a guy that I think can be a Micah Parsons type player at the next level because he is such a freak athlete. Number 2, we got the Titans, and I'm not really high on the Titans this year for a lot of different reasons. I think they still have offensive line concerns. I also think this could be a receiver spot because you signed Calvin Ridley to a long-term deal, but Tyler Boyd getting up there in age, how long is he going to be playing for? And then you got DeAndre Hopkins as well, who you got questions about how long he's going to be around. So what do you do here if you are the Titans? Quarterback is also in play. I am not the biggest Will Levis guy, as many of you know, but I think this could be a really interesting receiver spot. So this is a team that has really been lacking. They got a new offensive coordinator. They've needed to stretch the field a little bit. And because a lot of their weapons are older, I'm going to go get a young weapon in here. We're going to take Luther Burden out of Missouri, a absolutely dynamic player who's 5'11", 200 pounds. He's incredibly quick, explosive in the open field. He's going to make some big-time plays happen. You can get him the ball in the short to intermediate game, and he can make stuff happen after the catch. He's got reliable hands, and he's a pretty physical receiver as well. So we're going to take Burden there at 2 and really just try to build a really nice offense for Will Levis to work with. Number 3, we got the Patriots, and I think offensive line has to be this team's biggest need. You drafted Caden Wallace, who was a guy that I wasn't particularly high on. You extended Mike Onwenu, but your interior's got concerns. There's just a lot of holes on this offensive line. And I know a lot of people are going to talk about Emory Jones, but I love his teammate in Will Campbell, who is ultimately going to be the pick. They got him as the 21st player here. I think that's outrageous. Will Campbell is a fantastic offensive tackle. Maybe not the most athletic player in this draft, but he has some of the best fundamentals. He's got really solid footwork. He's got incredible hand placement, and he's incredibly strong. I'm going to take Will Campbell there, really shore up the left side of that line. Maybe move Caden Wallace to the right side where he is more comfortable, and then you can kick Onwenu back to guard where he's more comfortable, and you feel a little bit better about the offensive line you're building in New England. You got to protect Drake May. You got some young receivers that are intriguing. It's a good edge class. So I think you can almost wait a little bit. I think Will Campbell's got to be the pick for them. At number 4, we got the Denver Broncos. Now, there's a number of ways that this team could go. I went to Broncos training camp a couple of days. The issue that I really noticed was their pass rush was pretty lacking. Nick Bonito, Baron Browning, like good players that aren't great and that are undersized. They don't really have that true dominant edge piece outside of Zach Allen. I'm not going to go a player off the edge, but I am going to go with a defensive lineman, and we're going to take the best defensive lineman, honestly, maybe the best player in this entire draft, and take Mason Graham out of Michigan. This guy is a freak athlete. I've said multiple times, he's a Jalen Carter-like defensive tackle prospect. He has some incredible explosiveness off the line. He can defend the run. He can rush the passer. He's got some elite pass rush moves. I mean, he is absolutely incredible. And for a Broncos team that doesn't really have a proven presence on that defensive line, I think Mason Graham makes all the sense in the world. So we're going to take him here. And then at number 5, you got the Vegas Raiders, a team that I think will be in the quarterback market. No quarterback got taken in the first 4, so we're going to go with who I think is the best quarterback in this class by quite a bit, and it's going to be Carson Beck. Beck is a elite processor. He makes really good decisions. The only concerns I really had with him were his accuracy. He had the tendency to throw high at times at Georgia. So if he can clean that up, not only do I think he can be a Heisman player next year, I think he's going to be the number 1 quarterback off the board. I think he probably could have been a first-round pick if he came out in last year's loaded quarterback class. So Carson Beck is a player that I'm incredibly high on, and I think he makes all the sense in the world to go to Vegas, who, as of the time of recording this, just announced Gardner Minshew as their starter for the year. And as a Colts fan, Gardner Minshew is not going to get you very far. So a team that should have a better season than the 5th overall pick, but the way the board fell, I got Carson Beck going 5. At 6, we got the Giants. Daniel Jones is not the answer, as we saw this last weekend. So let's look at the quarterback room, and it is going to be Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. Sanders is another really, really solid quarterback who is incredibly accurate. I believe he completed 68% of his passes last year for Colorado. Really calm under pressure, doesn't rush anything. He makes a lot of incredibly smart decisions with the football, which you'll love to see. He's a really, really good player. The deep ball is going to be a concern here, but a lot of that could be fixed with some mechanic stuff. I've got a video going up on him later this week, so stay tuned for that. But Shedeur Sanders is an awesome quarterback prospect. I think he's getting a lot of hate because of who his dad is, but I think that's unfair. I think Shedeur Sanders has the upside to be one of the best players in this draft, and he has the upside to be QB1. So we're going to take Sanders here. At 7 for the Arizona Cardinals, they just get absolutely blessed that the best player in this draft fell based on positional need here, and that's going to be Will Johnson out of Michigan. I don't think we've ever seen a more technically sound corner, at least since I've been doing this, when I started back in 2021. Will Johnson has the speed, the lateral agility. He has fluid hips. He's a good tackler. He's a good run defender. Everything you want in a corner, it's Will Johnson. I think he is the best corner in this class by a long shot. I think he's absolutely incredible, and he's got the size, the length, everything you want. And for an Arizona team that has a lot of questions on this defense, you just answered one of the biggest questions you have now. Hopefully Garrett Williams can take a big step up. You got a solid safety room, and then you add Will Johnson to the boundary. So you could have a trio of Max Melton in the slot, Will Johnson on the outside, Garrett Williams on the outside, and rotate Elijah Jones in. You feel pretty good about the cornerback room moving forward. I love this pickup for Arizona. I got him going at 7. At 8 for the Commanders, I want to take Ben Morrison so bad, another really rangy corner who's got great speed, great closing ability, but their offensive line is so abysmal. They have to make a move. And I am going to take Kelvin Banks out of Texas, their left tackle. He's an excellent run defender for a Washington team and Cliff Kingsbury that wants to add more of that run mentality into their offense. Kelvin Banks incredibly productive for a Texas team. He's great on the move, did a lot in motion, was a good puller as a tackle. There's a lot to really like about Kelvin Banks. His size is very intriguing as well. I got him going number 8 to the Washington Commanders. They got to shore up this offensive line. They didn't make any moves that really made any difference for me on the offensive line, and you got to upgrade it. So we got Kelvin Banks going at 8. Then at 9, you got the Saints, and I do think this is a quarterback spot. It's just I don't know if I'm going to take Jalen Milroe this high. He is my QB4. My QB3 is Noah Fafita. I definitely don't see Fafita going this high. Jalen Milroe's got all the tools in the world, the arm, the running ability, and now he's playing in Kalen DeBoer's offense. It's going to be a little bit more open, allow him to work. But the Saints might have something there in Spencer Rattler. Do you want to spend a first-round pick there? This could be very similar to what we saw Washington do, where they passed on a quarterback and they decided to address the offense. Or who did they take that year when they had the opportunity when they stuck with Sam Howell? I am blanking on who their first rounder was that year. I believe it was Dotson. But nonetheless, you got to upgrade this room somehow. Derek Carr definitely isn't the answer. But your offensive line is, again, one of the worst, if not the worst units in all of football, especially with Ryan Ramczyk, whose NFL career could be over because of his injury. You drafted Talise Fuaga last year, but it's wrong to assume a rookie is going to come in and fix your offensive line. So I'm going to take Emory Jones. I like Emory Jones. I think he's incredibly athletic. My favorite part about Jones, though, I think you could move him to guard and he could be really, really effective because he is such a great athlete. He's great on the move and a great run blocker. I wouldn't be shocked. He's very similar to Talise Fuaga in that way, where I think you can kind of move those guys all over the line. He played right tackle for LSU. I definitely think he could play guard, could play on the left side as well. So I'm going to take Jones, shore up this offensive line, and just try to get some stability in this room because it's a major question mark. At number 10, we got the Vikings, and rest in peace to Kyrie Jackson. This team, though, desperately needs corners. You look at they just signed Stephon Gilmore to a one-year deal. He's not a long-term solution. Mekhi Blackman out for the year. Dwight McGlothern, who was my guy in this draft, you now are asking a lot of a undrafted free agent rookie. And Benjamin Morrison still on the board. He's got to be the move for me. He was the only receiver that I saw defend Marvin Harrison Jr. with any sort of consistency. He dominated that game against Marvin Harrison Jr. He's got great size. He's got really good athletic ability. I'm a big Benjamin Morrison guy. I think he's going to be a fantastic player at the next level. And I think he fits exactly what Minnesota wants to do. And they got to upgrade corner. So we'll take him here at number 10. At number 11, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is another team that's really, really interesting. I think edge rusher is a major need for this team. You got Yaya Diaby. They just cut Randy Gregory. Diaby's dealing with some injury stuff, if I'm not mistaken. So edge rusher could be a position that this team addresses. You drafted Chris Braswell last year, who I really liked. But do you have a true number one? That remains to be seen. But I think corner is also a big question for this team. You'll look at the cornerback room. You've got Jamel Dean and Zion McCollum's your number 2. And I like Zion McCollum. I think he's going to break out for this team this year. But it is still a concern. And you also could upgrade the receiver room maybe a little bit. Mike Evans getting up there in age. Chris Godwin is starting to regress, it appears. So maybe you add a piece there. Why not just add both? And I'm going to take Travis Hunter here at 11. This is a guy who I think is going to translate better to corner at the next level. We're going to talk a lot about throughout the year how bad he played in that Stanford game. His first game back from an injury, yeah, he was really bad in that game. But Travis Hunter is one of the most athletic people I've ever studied. He's got incredible quickness. He's pretty great in coverage, elite ball skills. I think he's got to go here, and I think this is an awesome pickup for a team that desperately needs help in that secondary. At number 12, we got the Seattle Seahawks, another team that I think you could really see go a number of different ways here. But I think we're going to address this safety room because when you look at the way Mike McDonald's defense ran with Kyle Hamilton, he likes to basically have 3 safeties on the field with Kyle Hamilton kind of playing an extra linebacker role. And then you had Marcus Williams on the back end as well. And I'm blanking on the third safety, but he likes to run three safeties on the field. And one of the biggest weaknesses in Seattle right now is that safety room. And I think Malachi Starks is an unbelievable safety prospect, and we're going to take him here. He doesn't have the greatest speed in the world, which is why he's a safety, but he does everything else incredibly well. He's got incredible physicality in coverage. He moves incredibly well. He's got great tackling ability, can defend the run, can play in the slot, can play high. I mean, he's so versatile in all the ways you can use him. I think it's a no-brainer pick for Seattle, a team that wants to use their safeties in more ways than quite a few of the other teams around here. And I think this makes all the sense in the world. So we are going to take Malachi Starks here. Number 13, we got my Colts. I don't believe that they are – this is a tough one because I think tight end makes a lot of sense to go out and address. You got Colston Loveland on the board. Bang, you get a incredibly athletic tight end. You get the ball in space, can make things happen after the catch. This secondary is so bad, though. And even though I do think, spoiler alert, that this Colts team is a playoff team this year, their secondary is going to be their biggest weakness. Now, you feel decent about the safety room. Nick Cross has started to show a little bit of promise. Julian Blackmon's there. Juju Brents has battled injury. Jalen Jones looks like he might be there. And then you got Kenny Moore. You need a boundary corner that's got athleticism. That's just what this Colts team needs. Now, there are a number of different corners we can look at here that I think I had 6 or 7 corners grade out with a first-round grade. Denzel Burke is right there. I think he is one towards the bottom end of this. Tacario Davis is my CB6 in this class, I believe, or CB5. I'm trying to remember here. But nonetheless, Tacario Davis, 6'4", 185. The speed is on and off, but the ball skills are there. The quickness is there. He's got a lot of really good athleticism that you feel pretty great about here. Davison Igbinosun as well, one of the fastest corners I've seen on tape. The ball skills hasn't really come around yet, but you see the upside with him. And then the other guy that I think we have to talk about here is Savon Ravel out of East Carolina. Yeah, he's a first-round talent corner. He's 6'4", 185. He's got some incredible length. He defends the run well. He's great in off-man coverage. And that's what the Colts are going to run. So we are going to take my number 4 corner in this class out of East Carolina, Savon Ravel. He is going to be playing that corner spot. He's got the size and the length to do it. He's incredibly athletic. He moves really, really well, and he's got great long speed. A player that if you're not familiar with him, start getting familiar with the name because he's going to be showing up in a lot of my mock drafts moving forward. For the Steelers here at 14 now, at the time of recording this, it is August 18th. They still have not added Brandon Ayuk. It's starting to look less and less likely. So we are going to take Tetairoa McMillan here for this team, who is a incredible wide receiver. I believe he's 6'4", around 205. The length on this guy and his hands are some of the most impressive you will see. He's got good long speed, so he could be a deep ball threat, but he's got the contested catch ability, the ability to just win those 50-50 balls that you don't see from a lot of receivers, I'm a huge Tetairoa McMillan fan. I think he is one of the best players in this entire draft class, and he is going to be the selection here at number 14. At number 15 for the Jags, I think guard is a huge need for this team. You look for kind of like you're looking at their guard situation. Brandon Scherf starting to regress a little bit, and then Ezra Cleveland, who has not been great for this team. Corner could also be in play here. I do think Tacario Davis would be a really good scheme fit for this team because of his abilities in press man coverage. You pair him with Tyson Campbell. That's definitely a route to go, but I think Tyler Booker is such a good guard prospect who's like 330 at 6'5", 330 pounds. I mean, you could move him to tackle if you really wanted to. He's a brick wall who's athletic, can move to the second level, and he is going to help keep Trevor Lawrence protected. You got an offensive line, a young offensive line now, Tyler Booker, Anton Harrison. You're feeling a little bit better about the direction of this line moving forward. They didn't address heavily in offensive line this offseason. I think they're going to next year. So I'm going to take Tyler Booker here to be that protector on the interior for Trevor Lawrence. At number 16, we've got the Cleveland Browns. Offensive tackle looks like the position that this team could really use. This is a weird team in Cleveland, to be completely honest, because I don't think they have a lot of holes. Like receiver, people might bring up as a need for them, but like look at their receiver room. Jerry Jeudy looks like he could be in for a breakout year. You drafted my guy Jamari Thrash, who's really impressed so far. He's still got Amari Cooper. I guess they have been trying to upgrade the receiver room, but like I think it's a little bit high for an Io Manor or Isaiah Bond. Abdul Carter could be in play. He's got experience playing linebacker. He can play off the edge, maybe be a long-term Za'Darius Smith replacement. You can use him kind of how you use Micah Parsons. You could obviously look to improve the defensive tackle spot. You could also improve the running game because I do think running back is a sneaky need for this team, depending on how Nick Chubb looks this year. Because if Nick Chubb doesn't play well, they will be right back in the running back market. This is a team that wants to run the football. I think that could be a route that this team goes. I'm going to take Abdul Carter for this team, though. I think with his ability to play linebacker, you like that, but also his just versatility. He's really athletic, plays with a ton of pop, a ton of power. It's exactly what Cleveland wants to bring. They want to bring that mean to the football field, and I do think Abdul Carter gives you the upside to do that. So I'm going to take him here, and I think that's a really, really good selection for the team because he can play a bunch of different positions on your defense for you. Number 17, we got the Rams. I think corner, this is a really much-needed corner spot. Left tackle could be a need. You could talk yourself into a linebacker, kind of using Harold Perkins in that Ernest Jones role. That could be something that gets this team a little bit excited. Or you could go quarterback. Jalen Milroe is still on the board here. I think that's the route we're going to go. We're going to take Jalen Milroe to the Rams here to kind of sit for a year or two under Matthew Stafford. Stafford obviously has his history, has not been able to stay healthy over the last few seasons. And Jalen Milroe has a lot of tools that I think he'll be a first-round pick next year because of his ability to run, because of his ability to – because he's got a cannon attached to him. He's got to work on his processing. He's got great pocket presence, but his footwork is not great. Those are some areas that are going to need to improve. But the upside's there. We're going to take Jalen Milroe at 17. At 18, I mean, this is a no-brainer. It's got to be Deion Walker. I think the interior defensive line in Los Angeles has been a weakness for this team over the last few years. You drafted Tuli Tuipulotu last year. Now you're kind of looking to up this a little bit more, improve that interior. Deion Walker is a unicorn. I mean, 6'6", 348 pounds, who works best as a 3-tech. He's got some incredible athleticism, can drop back into coverage at times for this team. I mean, Deion Walker is a awesome player. Probably will go higher than this, just how the board fell. Speaking of players that will go higher than this, it's Nick Scourton out of Texas A&M. I mean, this is a borderline top 10 player in the class for me. I mean, he's like 280, but he like plays outside linebacker and drops into coverage, and you love that. And that's why the Bears are going to take him for me. The Bears are a really interesting team. You like Austin Booker and kind of the promise he's shown, but he does still kind of fall into that project player mold because you don't really know what to do with him. As for Scourton, I think he's less of a project. He's got a little bit more pass rush upside as of right now, and he can defend the run really well. You pair that with Montez Sweat and then rotate Austin Booker in as maybe like an extra blitzer. I mean, Eberflus is going to have a lot of fun with that defense. Yeah, I love this selection for him, and I'm going to take Scourton here. At number 20, we got the Falcons. I think corner has to be the need. I'm going to hold off on edge just a little bit for this team. I think that the edge class is better than the corner class. So we're going to take a corner now. I'm going to take Tacario Davis for this team. Really big corner who is physical at the line of scrimmage. He makes stuff happen. He's got really good ball skills. That's really what this team's looking for. You need a reliable CB2. Like, you just need a guy who you can trust out there that's not Clark Phillips, that's not Mike Hughes. You need some guys out there. Tacario Davis, I think, is perfect for what the Falcons want to do defensively, and you've got a really, really good corner opposite of A.J. Terrell now. So we're going to take Tacario Davis at number 20. And at 21, we got the Dolphins. Really, really interesting team here. I think the interior of their defensive line is a huge need for them. I mean, it's really bad, their interior. I don't even know. Zach Sealer, you lost Christian Wilkins. The offensive line, though, it's still the biggest need for this team. And it will be. We're going to take Jonah Savainia. I know I said that wrong. We're just going to call him Jonah. That is a name I'm learning to pronounce. But he played right tackle primarily for Arizona. Really, really good right tackle. But he also has that flexibility to kick inside, play guard, where he could be a really good player there as well. I think he's a very versatile player that could do a lot of different things for you. And that should get you excited if you're a Dolphins fan, because you drafted Patrick Paul, who is probably going to be your left tackle of the future. Now you've got Jonah, who you can kind of move around that offensive line a little bit, play either guard spot, either tackle spot. You feel pretty good about that. So I'm going to take him here at 21. And then at 22, for the Green Bay Packers, a team that is really, really hard to draft for because I don't think they've got a lot of needs. But I do think defensive tackle and corner are two of their needs. And we're going to address this cornerback room a little bit. And we are going to be selecting – I'm going to hold off on taking Davison Igbinosun, even though I like him a little bit better than Burke. He still has some room to grow. I think Denzel Burke is going to be the pick here. They still have some players there that maybe you can get invested in. Eric Stokes still on the roster, but I still think that this team needs an outside corner that you can trust. Denzel Burke probably would have been a first-round pick if he comes out of the draft last year. Ends up coming back. He's got good size. He's got good speed. Has to be a little bit more disciplined in coverage, but overall, really impressive player. I'm going to take him here at 22 to just kind of help out this Packers secondary. At number 23, probably the easiest pick of the draft for me. It's going to be Colston Loveland to the Jets. This is a tight end room that you don't really like. You got Tyler Conklin, CJ Uzama, Zach Kuntz. Colston Loveland instantly comes in. He's the number one tight end on this roster. He moves really well. He's got athleticism. He's got good hands, can block pretty well. I mean, I think he's pretty clearly the top tight end. He's going to be a first-round pick, so we'll take him here at 23. Number 24 for the Texans, I don't get why wide receiver is a need. I just don't. I think corner and defensive tackle is a need, more so on that defensive tackle side of this. And obviously, you're between Tyleik Williams, Kenneth Grant, and Walter Nolan. All really, really good players. I think Kenneth Grant fits more that nose tackle idea. He's a better pass rusher, though. Walter Nolan's just a freak athlete. I'm going to take Tyleik Williams because he does a little bit of everything. He can defend the run, can rush the passer from time to time. I'm going to bet on that. We're going to take Tyleik Williams here. At number 25, I mean, talk about one of the hardest teams to draft for right now, and you're kind of stuck between the Cowboys and maybe the Packers for very different reasons, because the Cowboys have a lot of needs. You could look to, if Mozzie Smith doesn't develop, you could look defensive tackle. You could go center. You could go quarterback, because who knows what happens with Dak. You could go receiver because you need a number 2, or you could go running back. And all of those are on the board right now. I mean, if I had to go with the quarterback, I would probably take Connor Wigman out of Texas A&M just because I think he's got the highest upside of the bunch. But I don't think that's the right route to go. I think receiver could be in play here. You could go Isaiah Bond. You could go Alec Iomanner, Evan Stewart if you want some speed in this receiver room. Like, those are options here. You could go linebacker. You could kind of go the similar direction that you went with Micah Parsons and take Harold Perkins and use him as an extra rusher because that's where he thrives. But I'm not going to go any of those ways. We got to go running back. This running back room is the worst in the league. And I'm taking Quinshon Judkins. I think Judkins is the best running back in this class. He's got better receiving upside than Ollie Gordon. He's better, I think, at evading contact than Ashton Jeanty. He's better at contact balance. And I think Quinshon Judkins is the best back in this class. This is a Cowboys team that had success the last time they drafted an Ohio State running back. I think they double dip, and they're going to go get Quinshon Judkins. And I think that makes this very easy for the Eagles, and it's got to be Harold Perkins. I mean, a linebacker that, you talk about upside, he's really undersized, but, man, he moves better than most players on the offensive side of the ball. He's got incredible quickness and speed. He's a hard hitter. And oh, yeah, he can rush the passer incredibly effectively. There's a lot to really buy into with Harold Perkins. And I think he is going to be an awesome player at the next level. So I'm going to take him here at 26. For the Bengals, I think this is a team that is going to address the edge. You drafted Myles Murphy last year. Hasn't really worked out up to this point. Trey Hendrickson requested a trade. They haven't granted it. This team needs to address the edge room, I think. The problem is, like, do you want Princely Umanmielen? Do you want to go with Mykel Williams and take the upside play? Or do you want to get some power in there and get an Ashton Gelati, a JT Tuimoloau? There's a few options. I also think running back is a need for this team. Chase Brown is good. I don't know if he's a number one back in this league. I think I'm going to take Princely Umanmielen. I really like his upside, his length. He's got incredible bend around the edge. I think this is a pick that makes all the sense in the world for them, and you need to improve the edge rusher, get a really good athlete in there. That's going to be the move. Same thing with Buffalo, though. I think this team desperately needs edge rushers, and we're going to go the opposite. Maybe not the greatest athletes, but just a guy who is going to bring a ton of power, and that's going to be Ashton Gelati out of Louisville. This team, obviously, Von Miller's health is a concern. You lost Leonard Floyd. You've got some concerns about this room moving forward, and I think Ashton Gelati helps to shore things up. And then you're going to see a third edge come off the board in a row and take Mykel Williams. Now, Mykel Williams I have higher on my board, but I think he goes lower in the draft. He is such a raw prospect. Now, a really great run defender, such a raw pass rusher, though, that you really haven't seen him tap into that part of his game yet. If he can do that, he's going to be a superstar because the upside, the athleticism is like that of Trayvon Walker. But we haven't seen it yet. And so it is a bit of a question mark up to now. But I do really, really like Mykel Williams. I think he's got a ton of upside. Number 30, we got the Baltimore Ravens. I think a lot of people are overrating their wide receiver room. Zay Flowers is good, but I don't know if he's a number one receiver in this league. He's undersized. He's got some hand concerns here and there. I think you got to go get a true number one receiver for Lamar Jackson, a true X receiver, if you will. Isaiah Bond is a guy that I am considering for this team because I do think he's a player that can win at all three levels. He's got the speed, can run routes incredibly well. He is my wide receiver, I believe, 5. But Alec Iomanner from Stanford is my number 3 receiver in this class because I think he brings some physicality, some route running in hands that you don't have on this team. You can't go wrong with either of these picks. I think I'm going to take Isaiah Bond, though. This team wants to run the ball and have those deep shots available for Lamar. I think Isaiah Bond just fits what they want to do on offense a little bit better than Iomanner. While I like Iomanner a little bit better as a prospect, I think Bond will be the higher draft pick. At number 31, we do have the San Francisco 49ers. Number of ways that this team could go. I think linebacker is a sneaky need because Dre Greenlaw will be out. Corner, also kind of a need. Maybe you do take Davison Igbinosun here, get some speed on the outside, but I think you feel pretty decent about that room after adding Renardo Green. As for the edge, maybe you could look for a number 2. Patrick Payton is an option. Landon Jackson, Tuimoloau, I'm not the highest on. I think we have to go offensive line, though, for this team. There's some really interesting players here. Donovan Jackson, Tate Ratledge, Clay Webb is not available here. You could go center, which I mean, Parker Brailsford is undersized, but I think he is by far the best center in this draft class. There's some options here for the Niners. I actually do think we're going to go with Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. Just address this edge room a little bit more. Add another piece opposite of Nick Bosa that can run, defend, is pretty athletic. He's got really, really great size. So we'll take Landon Jackson there. And then with the final pick here, I mean, it says safety is the biggest need. I don't really think so. We're going to take a defensive tackle, and it's going to be Kenneth Grant, a guy who's got really great size, but he is more of that nose tackle sort of archetype. So there's a few different ways that they could use him. But there we have it. Trying to fit all of this in there, but there we have it. That is my last way too early mock draft. Now, I'm getting married in a couple of weeks, so we will be doing weekly mock drafts really soon, but that won't start until after week 2 because I'll be on my honeymoon after week 1. So just wanted to let you guys know, but let me know which picks you liked, which picks you didn't like. Leave a comment down below on what your favorite pick was, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.